man, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to come in with me and do this. And before we get started, I'll say thanks to a couple of partners with the podcast, and that's Adventure Cast and Pool, Hiya Bait Company, Sassy Fishing, LT Jigs, Bypass Bait and Tackle, the Cane Pole, Backwaters Outfitters in Lexington, Get Outside Kentucky, and the Barbershop.
Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, a lot of people that's in here may not know, but you know, you and your wife, y'all travel all over the place.
Yes. Yep.
So, where do you actually call home? Like, where's?
Our home base is in Tucson, Arizona.
I got you.
Yep. So we have a place out there, a small apartment out there in that area, and then we usually go there about every year.
Okay.
Almost around August time, but this time we're going to Michigan.
I got you. She's a travel nurse or phlebotomist.
Yeah, she's a lab technician, so she does the lab. She started doing the travel thing when COVID hit, and started working with with the National Guard and stuff, like in Oregon and stuff like that, doing COVID tests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And went from there to just going all over doing it, just a bunch of different lab stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's almost 5 years now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Getting to travel around, and that would be interesting. You know what I mean? Doing the travel, not having to work in the same place around the same people all the time, and then you get to travel and you get to entertain all of us and check all the cool fishing spots out. And I'm sure that's a load of fun.
Yeah, it is. I like being her chauffeur. That's basically it. I'm just her chauffeur, and while she works, I get the opportunity to go out and play. So we like that.
That's cool.
It's a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guarantee you it is. And I always ask everybody this question, and it's usually usually around the same answer. But who got you into fishing?
I think watching the Bass Pro Masters on TV as a kid, Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
I think that really sparked it. I did not grow up around hunting and fishing in Phoenix, because I grew up on basically in downtown Phoenix, 12th Street and Pierce, Garfield Park area.
I got you.
And it's there's you don't have nowhere to fish out there, and that's just not the stuff they do out there. We were running the streets out there back in those days. Yeah. But watching the Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, watching the Bass Masters and just stuff like that just got me intrigued with the outdoor life, man, and it's a spark that never left.
That's cool. That's a different answer. That is a different answer. I hadn't had that one yet, and that's like you said. You grew up in a city setting, and I grew up in the mountains. U.S. Steel come into Lynch, and there was, hills and hollers and mountains, and they just cleared it out and built houses. U.S. Steel built the house, or the housing and the town, that I grew up in.
There's a couple of instances in Arizona with my dad where like there's one time my dad's sister, his sister, my Nina and Nino, which are my aunt and uncle, they baptized me, so they were my godparents, and they would always bring me stuff, for the certain holidays.
Yeah.
And they had brought me a dog for, I think it was Easter or something one time, and it ended up being a German Shorthair Pointer, and that sucker grew up, and I think he was like 6 months old, but we got him when he was 2 months. And when he was 6 months old, I just take him for a walk out in this field where they're starting to build these apartment complexes. And he just stood there, like he started pointing, and I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, "Come on, man, come on!" And he was staring down a rabbit, so I let him go, and he chased that rabbit and caught it, man. It was pretty cool. So we started using him to catch rabbits for a while.
Yeah, that's awesome. Whenever you did get into fishing, what was the first fish that you can remember that really got you hooked into fishing?
Catfish.
Catfish.
Yeah, because once I started actually, working for myself and getting into doing different things other than playing video games, I back then was Nintendo and stuff like that. So Atari and Nintendo, and then so I started making money and getting fishing stuff, and then we had man-made lakes and in our cities. We had these city ponds, and all they have is bass and catfish and sometimes tilapia or whatever. So and then they in the wintertime they do trout and stuff. Just basic four fish, and so I just started off with catfish because they fought so hard and they were good to eat. And I'd come home almost every weekend night. I'd come home with like eight to 10 catfish, just catch them all day long. So I think the catfish is what got me into it.
That's like I got buddies, man. They go out, they night fish for crappie like I do, and
Yep.
like, man, we caught 10 or 15 catfish last night. I'm like, did you keep them? They're like, I ain't eating them nasty things. I was like, well, start throwing them in your cooler. I said, call me. I said, I'll come over and get them. I said, they fry up just as good as a crappie, in my opinion.
Yep. That's funny. I
Oh yeah,
like that. I've never night fished for crappie before.
I love it, man. Just
Man.
drop a green light out the side of the pontoon and get your pole set up, which using minnows. And there's a lot of times once the shad and minnows come up, I'll usually keep a spoon tied on because you can usually sit there and jig a spoon for white bass, striped bass. You know,
Yep.
I caught catfish one night on a spoon like that. It was
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, you'd be amazed how many times you'll catch catfish on lures. They do.
Oh
They will hit lures.
yeah. Pooh has caught a catfish on a whopper plopper of mine. And then Kenny Dials caught a big old catfish on a chatterbait while he was fishing in a bass tournament.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
it's crazy. But a lot of people say that it's lazy fishing or whatever, and it's really or that catfish are lazy. And I'm like, dude, I was like, catfish, in my opinion, I said, is probably one of the most predatorial fish. I said in the water.
Yep.
I said they're not as lazy as people think. And I
Yep.
think that kind of changed the game whenever, all these Santee rigs, and stuff, that were coming out to get that cut bait lifted up off the bottom
Yep.
and people's success skyrocketed,
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
them.
I know they always think that the catfish are just on their bellies on the bottom, just waiting for something dead to come by or going around getting dead stuff. They're hunters.
We all like an easy meal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I
Oh,
tell
yeah.
everybody. I was like, we all like an easy meal. I was like, but I promise you, I said, if you think the catfish are lazy, I said, watch these guys. I said, that noodle for them.
Yep.
I was like, hey, what's her name? Hannah Barron.
Yeah.
I love watching her videos. And
Yep.
then, catfish, or not catfish Cooley did it there for a little while. And then, Stale Cracker. I've
Yep.
watched him do it some, but but it's and noodling is on my bucket list.
Mine too.
I do want to go. I'd like to go with someone experienced because I don't want to lose any of them. But reach your hand back here on a turtle and say bye bye.
Oh yeah, exactly. That'd be terrible. Holy crap.
It would. My next question for you is, we talked about you all traveling, and we all fish. And you may have a different perspective on it than me, but there's times that I go fishing to fish, and there's sometimes I go fish for content.
Yep.
I try to, I tell people, I was like, whenever you're doing content, I was like, you still have to have that separation and break. I said, I still enjoy fishing for content,
Yep.
but I said, it's just, you're just out there, but basically, how do you balance the content creation and personal life in fishing?
I ended up noticing that I was doing a lot of TikTok lives, and was lacking on my other platforms, like the tube and stuff like that. So I ended up cutting my lives down from one, going Monday through Friday basically is what I was doing, to doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then using Tuesdays and Thursdays for YouTube. And then myself, when I'm the time that I'm fishing there, I start fishing probably a couple of hours before I start my lives typically, and I'm fishing 4 or 5 hours after my lives are done. So the live and the content that I do, I just bring all of you guys along with me,
Yeah.
and I stay on until my phone can survive, and then after that, once the phone's dead, then sometimes I quit and sometimes I'm still fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I tell people though. I said I enjoy making the content. I said, but it got to the point there for a while where I was getting frustrated, because I was going live and I was trying to entertain and be a good host and sit and engage as much as I possibly could. And there was times where I was missing fish because I was, you know what I mean. I was rhythm, but
Yeah.
I'm sitting there looking down at the phone on my
Yep.
chest, and I was just like, man, I was like, I'm really stinking it up here.
Yep.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's not always about catching for me.
Right.
It's about the community, and it's about the fellowship and
Yep.
the camaraderie and everything else that goes along with it. It's really cool being able to be here in Kentucky, and you might be in New Hampshire, and I might be fishing here in Kentucky, and you in New Hampshire, and I'm sitting there watching you fish, or while I'm sitting on the boat or in the recliner, or it's piss pouring the rain here. That's the enjoyment of the content that I get, and I appreciate
Yeah.
it from any content creator in
Yep.
the world. Because there's times, like I said, that the weather or health or whatever
Yeah,
gets
you can't. You're not able to get out there, but you can watch somebody else out there and enjoying it.
and,
Yeah.
and learn something. I've learned
Yeah.
so much from
Exactly.
people. I mean,
And what I like about it too is, like, a lot of the people that I have that I'm following and that are following me, I've got to meet a lot of them, and that's what's special to me about it. I get to, there's a bunch of them that I've met personally that, even that aren't in the fishing community,
yep,
like Sarge's Wood Design. I went and visited him. He does custom flags and stuff like that. And
he
then,
does a good job
you
on
know,
it too.
yeah, oh yeah. And then Frank, Mr. Bass, got to fish with him in Tucson. We got Steve W, who who's from Arizona as well. Just a bunch of people from all over that I've got to meet personally, and then when they jump on my lives and stuff like that, they get to see and follow me where I'm going and the different adventures that I get to share with them and stuff like that. And I try to give away all the tips and tricks.
Oh yeah. And that's the best part of it, man. Is getting those tips and tricks from folks. Uh,
Yeah.
there, it's just and it's even like on the lure painting side or the bait making side. Learning the tips and tricks from other bait makers.
Yeah.
It's it's like I was talking the other night. I was live this past Friday night with a bunch of guys painting. Pretty Lures host a Friday Night Live for bait painters,
Yep.
and that's what I was telling about. It's the community. I was like, it's a community just like the fishing community. I said, we're all fishermen, whether it's on the bait making side or the fishing side. So, but my next one for you is, what made you decide to chase multi species instead of specializing in just one?
Um, I used to, every opportunity that I had to take my kids fishing, I took them. So I fished the seasons. So, I would go after pre-spawn bass when the bass were moving in, getting ready to start spawning, and they were staging. A lot of my fishing was basically all from shore, so I had to be creative, and not everything was always by shore. So I would just pattern them, go after bass. And then, you got your crappie season. Once that water hits 58 degrees, those crappie are moving in. We're going to be able to catch them easily from shore. And then once the catfish and start spawning into the dams, we can go to those dams, So it was just making it, keeping the fishing going and always being able to catch something by fishing the seasons. And if you're fishing the seasons, you got to go for different species because they all do their different thing in different seasons. So it started that way, and then we started traveling, and then it was all about learning different habitats on different species because it's different everywhere.
Yeah.
Even though you use a lot of the same tactics, you still have to find those fishing holes, and that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Starting over in every state that you go to and every city is finding those spots.
Yeah. And that I multi-species fish too, and so I get that's the big thing. Like back home, we didn't have any crappie. Home, it was bluegill, uh, sun grannies, smallmouth, catfish.
Yep.
That's primarily like around where I live. That's what I fish for. But just as a kid, I started out catfishing. That's what my
Yep.
papa, my dad, and them. There was a pay lake that they would take us to whenever we were a kid. When we was kids, but I never did get into crappie fishing until I was probably in high school. I've got my uncle. He had a houseboat down on Blue Springs on North Lake, uh, and I would go down there every summer with him. And he had sunk old Christmas trees and stuff around his houseboat. I had lights out at night, and
Yep.
we'd sit there and work crappie out, man, at night. But that's how I fell in love with crappie fishing and why I like
Heck
that.
yeah.
It reminds me of whenever I was a kid down there in Tennessee with my uncle,
Yep.
and a couple of my other cousins would be there too, and we'd all just sit out there and crappie fish. But
It's a completely different feel night fishing as well. It's a completely different feel, especially when you're with loved ones and friends and stuff like that. It's one of my wife's favorite things to do. She just feels she ain't gonna catch nothing if it ain't nighttime.
yeah,
So that's her favorite thing. She loves nighttime fishing.
and surprisingly, mine does too. I didn't, when we got the boat, I wasn't sure if she was going to like it or not. But it's honestly my favorite way to fish.
Yeah.
It honestly is.
Yep.
Thank y'all for the gifts.
Everything's hunting at night.
Yes, it and get back to on the crappie fishing side of it. I'll tell you something funny. I was down in Alabama. I was fishing with Big Country that first year I went down there. And that last night, my wife was there, and I was like, "Hey, man," I was like, "Nothing against you." I was like, "Me and her's going to spend this last night down here together." And basically, I was scanning around with the live scope trying to figure out where we were going to night fish for crappie. And I told my wife, I was like, "Man," I was like, "this don't even seem real." And she was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Look at all these bass." I said, "Stacked up." I said, "In this structure." I said, "In 45 foot of water." And I mean, there was, I mean, easily 50 to 60. I was like, "This is insane." I was like, "I've never seen anything like this." And I was like, "Hey," I said, "there's structure." I said, "There's got to be crappie around here somewhere." Dude, the first one she caught was 18 and a half inches. And
Oh, no way.
I started dying laughing. And she was like, "What?" I said, "It wasn't bass." I said, "I was seeing." I
That
said,
was all
I
crappie.
said, "That's all crappie." I said, "Every one of them crappie."
Holy crap.
I said that we're going to catch tonight. I said, "It's probably going to be anywhere from 13 to 20 inches." I said, but that just blew my mind. 'Cause I'm not used to that.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
crazy.
to the lakes that I fish around here, it's average, a couple of them, which Green River Lake, I just started going to, and I didn't even realize it, but that lake is ranked sixth in the nation for crappie fishing.
Oh, wow.
And but I was primarily fishing cave run and the reservoirs around here, but I was always used to seeing, you know, crappie between 9 to 12 to 13 inches.
Right. Yep.
And more so on the 9 to 10 inch size because that's just how it is here locally where I'm at.
Right.
Um, but it blew my mind. the difference in the quality of fish. The
That's
crappie.
crazy, and that's a one once in a lifetime deal when you run up on them like that too.
Oh, well, we've got it's in queue to be mounted because I've got a crappie mounted, and it was like I think it's 14 and a half inches. Is my PB crappie,
Oh
and
wow, nice.
I caught it from a reservoir here local.
Yep.
And whenever I took it down to the taxidermist, he was like, he said, where'd you catch this at? I said, over at Will Green. And he said, I don't blame you. He said, he said, I'd have it mounted too. Thank
Yeah.
you for the repost and share, Uncle Corey.
I had some of my biggest crappie that I've caught were out of Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this, I can't even remember the name of the pond, but it was like right next to a highway. They used it and dug it up to, build up the highway and stuff while it was during construction. And then, they just turn them into parks and stuff like that. And there you got a pond now.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was fishing that, man. That's good fish in there. I mean, I would slay huge crappie there, man. I'd lay them against the bucket on a 5-gallon bucket, and they'd be as long as the 5-gallon bucket.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah, I was
like
like,
you saying, like Kentucky does a really good job. They call it a Fin Lake program, and the state actually picks like smaller ponds or reservoirs, public parks, basically, and they do a really, really good job of stocking those. And I
yeah,
could tell that the one had just been recently stocked today or sometime because, dude, me and my wife went down to Whitehall as one of them. And I bet there was 60. I didn't even fish, but maybe 10, 15 minutes. I mean, because every spot that I like to fish was already took up. But
right.
I already drove out here. I'm gonna throw for a little bit. But you guys that are in here, and I didn't know if you knew it or not, Morales, but Uncle Corey Custom Lures that's in here right now, he also does a podcast, and his is called The Pondcast, and he does his on Tuesday nights on here, and it's Bait Makers on TikTok. So
Oh, nice. All right.
if you want to check that out, or anybody that's in here might be new, uh, check Uncle Corey out. It's really, really good, really informational, and you can learn a lot about the bait maker and sometimes the process and how they go about and products that they use to make them.
What time on Tuesdays does he usually go?
I believe it's 7 Eastern time on Tuesdays.
Okay.
You
All
can
right.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's 7 Eastern.
I might be able to catch some of it.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
still awake by then.
Yeah. My next question for you is what kind of prep goes in whenever you all are traveling? And more specifically, how do you prep for your fishing adventures while you all are traveling?
So typically what happens with my wife, she has 4 different agencies that work for her. So when she's nearing the end of her contract, they'll start contacting her and sending her hospitals that need help. So they'll send her the entire packet basically through email saying this is what's up, and then she also has apps that she follows where she can see assignments and stuff like that. And when they offer her an assignment, she texts it to me, or if I'm by her side, which we usually are, she'll tell me about it, and I look up the area and then see if it has, places within the area where I can fish that I don't have to drive more than 30 minutes to. And that's basically what we do. And then, base it off of as well the amount the contract cash value is as well. Determines whether somewhere we go or not. And then we make that decision based off of just a few things like that, and then go out there and go and hit it up.
I got you. I got you. And I think you said it earlier, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the question was going to be when did travel become part of your fishing journey instead of just local waters? And I think you said it's 5 years ago.
Yeah, yep. It was 5 years ago that it's going to be 5 years in August, actually.
I got you.
So yeah, so basically what happened is me and my wife always talked about wanting to travel.
Yeah.
So my idea of traveling was basically, take a couple of weeks vacation, go to Europe, come back, go back to work,
Yeah.
Her idea was travel was packing up like the Beverly Hillbillies and just hitting the road, you know what I'm saying? So COVID COVID really helped give us a push. He tried to convince me prior,
Yeah.
to basically just bag everything up and quit working and retire and get rid of everything I own and just hop in a vehicle and start hitting the road. So it was kind of a hard pill for me to swallow at first,
Yeah.
but COVID helped put that push, and we ended up hitting the road, man. And it's been a blessing ever since. It's been awesome.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, if y'all ever have coming through Kentucky, man, you definitely have to hit me up for sure.
I know. So that's why I try to tell people, man. It's just follow my lives, follow my updates and stuff, because I'm always telling people, when we're going somewhere else, let them know, hey, this is where we're at, this is where we're headed. We'll be going through these states. If you guys want me to stop by, say what's up. I'm always happy, but like, it's just hard to remember everybody. Hey, come to this. If you're here, you just don't think of that stuff when the time comes. So I just let everybody know, this is where we're going now. If you want me to stop through, let me know. Hit me up Messenger, and then we'll do it now, because it's easier to remember something a week away than 3 to 6 months away.
I don't know if he's still in here. I seen Righteous Tackle come in a little while ago, and I just want to shout him out. He's been working very hard on. He's developed his own balsa bait crankbaits, and I was lucky enough. I was at the Columbus show, and I picked two of them up from him. Caught fish with the one. I've not fished the other one yet, but I've got the. I think it's the 2.5. He calls it the Righteous Hellraiser, is what he calls it.
Oh,
And
nice.
whenever he launched them, he sold out of them, but he's already doing the restock for them. So
That's
if
sweet.
you've not checked those out, pick him up and check them out. They're phenomenal. They run great, and I'm looking forward to getting this next one from him to fish with too. And what's up, Boyer? If you're still in here, not much. He's still here. I tell you, he is. If you want to pick him up, Morales does a phenomenal job on him. And everybody else that's in here too.
Got him.
Let's see here. What's one bucket list species that you still haven't landed?
My bucket list species that I haven't gotten yet is probably, I want to say, the peacock bass.
I got you.
So I kind of screwed everything up myself, because I was kind of confused as to the location in Florida they were at. So like, when we first got to Florida, we went straight through Daytona, so we hit Daytona up, stuff like that, and then started working south through the Panhandle, and then we went down, I think, as far down as Miami. And it was just their beaches, looking downtown, malls, stuff like that. Just excited, just seeing that life for the first time.
Yeah.
And then we heard about Alligator Alley, so we shot back up from Miami up to go hit the highway that went through Alligator Alley, so we can go see some alligators and stuff. And then we just ended up in Venice Beach, Florida, or somewhere around there. Just ended up on that side, and I was like, all right, let me get my. Well, I got my fishing license first, because that first night I caught my first bull shark, and that was in Daytona. And then after that, we went over there, and I was like, all right, let me start researching, where I can find peacock bass and iguana, because I wanted a blowgun iguana as well. Stuff like that. And then I found out everything was on the other side of the state and not on the side that I was on. So peacock bass is it. I got to get me a peacock bass and iguana.
That's what, I had to go down to Jupiter a couple of years ago. My cousin was getting married. We were at the hotel, and I went out back at the pool. Everybody was like, oh, I'm going to get a suntan, whatever. I was over there cracking one. And, dude, I was just sitting there watching the boats and everything in this channel that was behind the hotel. And dude, I heard the damnedest rustling in a bush, and I was like, what the hell? And I looked, and there was a fucking iguana running straight at me. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was probably about 9 to 10 cold ones deep as it was. And I started high stepping it and going across, and they was all like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know what the hell it was after me, you know."
That's
And
hilarious.
my uncle was there. He was like, "Where's it at?" And I was like, "I don't know." I said, "All I seen was something with a big ass long tail running out." I said, "I ain't never seen no shit like that in my life." Uh, I was like, and then I went back over and I was like, "Oh hell, this is the biggest damn iguana I've ever seen." I mean, but like I said, all I seen was four legs. I didn't know if it was an alligator. I was like, "What the hell is going on, man?" But yeah,
Exactly, dude. That's the first thing I would have thought. I would have never thought iguana. I'm thinking alligator right off the bat. I
yeah.
don't care what I'm seeing with my eyes. I could see that it's an iguana, but to me, I'm thinking alligator. I'm getting the hell out of here.
No, I'm telling you, dude. Thank you, Andy. I'm telling you, man. Hey, I was a shitting and getting it. 300 pounds is moving fast. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
But once I found out about them, everywhere I was looking around water, and them
Yeah.
bitches was everywhere in Jupiter. I mean,
Yeah.
they was like dogs walking, like stray dogs walking down the street.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, huge. I mean, I'm talking huge. I mean, the only iguana I've seen, is probably about like this. The pet ones. I mean, these some bitches
Right,
have
yeah.
heads on them. I mean, that big around.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I want to barbecue. I want to barbecue one of them bad boys.
Oh, I've heard they're delicious.
I can't wait. I've had alligator, and I'd love to hunt alligator. I just haven't had the opportunity, but I've had alligator for sure. When you go to South Carolina or any of those
Oh, yeah.
southern places, you're gonna find gator. So,
Oh, yeah.
and it's amazing. And then my buddy used to bring me gator when I lived in Michigan too. So,
Yeah. Well, let's see here. When you get to a new body of water, how do you break it down? What are you looking for?
so typically, when I find a new body of water, I use Chat GPT now. Not Chat GPT is a really good tool. Anything that you can find on that lake that's posted on the internet, Chat GPT is going to summarize it for you. So I use that a lot. I find that that's real easy as far as finding out what type of species is inside the body of water. That's first and foremost. Find out what species is in the body of water. I find out how big is it, how big it is, and I'm looking for access points. Can I fish it from shore, or is it going to have to be a kayak lake?
Yeah.
So all those factors play into mind. And I try to, when I first get to a lake, I always typically I don't show this part on my videos, but I'll get a weight on the end of my line, and it's no hook, nothing. It's just a 3-ounce weight, and I'll cast it out in the middle of the lake, and I drag it, and I'm feeling to see what I'm feeling down there. Is it weedy? Is it sandy? Is it muddy? Is it gravel? Stuff like that. So I get my mind on that, that way, and then just put a plan mentally and get out there. And if I'm hitting it from shore, then early in the morning, I'm going to start with top waters on the edges, depending on the season. Especially if it's summertime, I'm going to work the edges parallel to the edges on all the shorelines that I can access with top waters first thing in the morning, because bass are on the prowl still hunting, and then, start hitting the bottom out deeper, working it inshore. So, and it's almost the same stuff, but the best thing to do, I think, is find out, what the bottom is of the lake that you're fishing, and make a game plan from there.
Oh yeah. No, it's awesome. And where you all travel, and whenever I ask you this, though, I'm talking about fishing. When you're going to any place that you're going, what's one piece of gear that you don't leave without?
Yeah. Well, being that everything we own is in our van with us, I'm never leaving anything. Everything's always with me.
Well, that makes
The
sense.
only Yeah, so the only time is when I'm heading out on my kayak. I got to make sure I'm prepared as much as possible. So when I go out on my kayak, especially when it's not on waters that I've known before, I'm packing a little heavier. And the only reason I'm packing a little heavier is not because I'm trying to fishing spots. It's because if something happens, my mindset is I don't know the area. I don't know the river. I don't know this body of water. So some survival stuff I'm going to have, saws, something to cook with, a little bit of food, and then just my standard equipment.
I got you. I got you. And how do you stay motivated, when the fishing is tough on the road?
Man, and I tell this to a lot of people in my lives. Um, I'm not really sure how people feel when they're out there fishing, but I'm vindictive, sort of. So like, if a fish beats me, I'm mad and I'm coming back for revenge. So every day I'm out there, I'm out to kick some butt. So like, I'm out there every cast that I'm doing, I'm a little nervous every time I'm bringing it in. I'm just a little bit nervous. And sometimes you'll see me, I overreact because I feel so, but I'm wired like a cat watching a cricket, ready to
Yeah.
pounce. And I just always have had that. And there's times where I'm so tired, man, but I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I'm just sitting right here. I could easily be at a lake doing the same thing, even if I just have my poles fishing the bottom. But I got that itch. And it's not hard for me to be out there, and I'm just always enjoying every second out there, even if I'm not catching nothing. It just excites me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's like today. I went fishing, and it don't happen very often, but I got skunked today.
Oh, yep,
I did. I went down to the creek I was down, and I've never not went there and not caught a fish.
yep,
And and literally, I spent probably about an hour and a half down there, and I was starting to get a little bit aggravated, and I was like, "Dude, just enjoy it."
yeah.
I was like,
I'll
"Just
tell
enjoy
you,
it."
I'm the skunk king. I get skunked a lot because I got to start over all the time. So there's times where I'm skunked for a week straight.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know that feeling all too well, and like I said, man, it's just that vindictive spirit in me. I got to get out there. I got to find out where these guys are so I can slap them around.
Oh yeah. I like it. We've all learned something in life from fishing, and you care to share, one life lesson that fishing has taught you?
Um, there's more beautiful, awesome, amazing people out there than the news makes it out to be.
Yeah,
When you're out fishing, um, you're away from all that crap.
yeah,
I know there's a lot of negative stuff out there that a lot of people hear on a day-to-day basis. Um, I think fishing has taught me that there's just so many awesome people out there than what other people make it out to be.
yep. I agree 100%, man. I mean, it's I tell people all the time. I was like, whenever I got on here, I'm still goofing off and being stupid, but I mean, at the end of the day, would have never imagined in a million years that I would meet so many great people that I've met over
Yep.
the last 2.5 years, on
Yep.
here. Like you
Exactly.
said, though, I mean, you you know, you meet people out on the bank, too,
Yep.
but I mean, it just I've been blessed beyond belief on here.
Yeah.
The with the amount of support and love and just genuine good people. You
Yep.
know,
Exactly.
it,
Exactly. I
it,
love
it's really been an eye opening experience for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
They we're going. I got this little segment I call "No Time to Retie."
All right.
All right, and that's where we're at with this. And then after we get done with this, I'll open up the chat, and if they've got any questions for you, and then if you've got any for me, once we get done with that. But so here we go.
All
All you
right.
got to do is I'm just going to spit questions out at you, just answer them fast as you can.
All right.
But it's no time to retie. Live bait or artificial?
Uh, live bait.
Favorite species to fight?
Bull sharks.
Least favorite fish to deal with.
Pickerel.
Would you rather snag a tree or backlash a baitcaster?
Snag a tree.
Who lies more, fisherman or used car salesman?
Ho ho. Oh, that I would say that's a 50-50 split right there.
I always try to throw something stupid in there at the end, but we all got to stretch the truth every once in a while.
Yeah.
When it comes to the fish is like this, but every time you tell the story, it gets just a little bit bigger.
Yep. My wife says she was going to buy me a board with the holes in it, so when I tell a story, it never
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. Mark Brown says a used car salesman.
I want to say that too, but man, there's a lot of us out there too.
Yeah, it's stretching it. Who says how long you've been fishing for?
Oh, I would say I started probably really fishing probably at the age of 16. So I'm 50 now. So since then,
You're 50. I didn't realize that. You look like
I'll be 50. I'll be 51 this year.
Well, happy early birthday.
Thank you. October.
And then Uncle Corey says, I missed some, but how long have you been on the road?
We've been on the road. It'll be 5 years in August. So we've been on the road full time for 5 years. And then we stop in Arizona, to visit my mom typically during the winters. So we're out there in the warmer weather. So if we're not in Florida, we're in Arizona. If we're not in Arizona, we're trying to be in Oregon. So, but yeah, almost 5 years now.
Awesome. Alabama Fishing says, what's the most memorable fishing story or catch of your lifetime?
The most memorable fishing, probably for me, there's so many of them. The ones they're just gonna have to be the ones that I've spent with my kids, man. There's so many memories that I have with them that you can't compile them into one, but there is one special evening that I'll never forget. It was a camping trip. It was me and my two youngest boys, and we were out on the Grand River in Lowell, Michigan, and it was a great time because we caught a lot of fish, but we had a lot of crazy stuff that happened too. Like we ended up we were catching bluegills and stuff because we were catfishing in the nighttime was the plan. So we dug a hole in the ground and we poured water in it. We were keeping the bluegills alive. That was our little live well. Well, got evening time and a big black water snake of some sort was in there trying to eat the fish. So got my son to kill it, take it out, and we ended up teaching him how to cook and clean a snake. So we ate that snake that night and caught a bunch of catfish. So I think that was my most memorable fishing trip, that stands out.
Oh yeah, that's good. Mark Brown says, how many lies have you told about fishing?
Man, probably 2. Does that count as one?
Oh man, I don't lie, Mark. No, he said there is one there. Yeah, lies. Yeah. Everybody's got to stretch the truth about the fish you catch. That ain't gonna hurt.
Yeah.
It's one of them little,
It's not a story. It's not a good story if you don't fib a little.
Hey, I'm telling you, I joke around and I cut up about stuff all the time, and people are like, "That didn't happen," and then most times it did. Most times it actually did. So I'm like,
exactly.
Fine.
Wish I was.
Oh yeah, what's up, beefy? But what is your favorite fish to catch? Pooh says.
I think my favorite fish to go after, I'm gonna probably have to say bluegill. I like catching big bluegill. They fight really good. Um, they're a lot of fun. And as a lot of people know, I love bobber fishing. It's one of my favorite methods. So I really love chasing bluegills. I've
Okay.
made a lot of good fishing friends and memories with bluegill.
Mark Brown says favorite lure.
My favorite lure, I would probably say almost any type of topwater, but I have really been liking the new it's here on the TikTok shop, those imitation cicadas and bumblebees and stuff like that, topwaters. I haven't caught anything on them yet, but I really like the way they swim.
Yeah.
So I always like a really good topwater bite. So, whopper ploppers, frogs and stuff like that. So just pretty much any type of topwater.
And it's kind of along the same lines here, but Uncle Corey says favorite lure that you use for bass.
Favorite lure that I use for bass, I'm probably gonna have to say it depends on the situation. River systems, I'm liking to throw. This guy Outdoors with Tiny, he paints these awesome lures, these crankbaits and stuff, and so I really love throwing those square bills in shallow water for the smallies. I like using lipless crankbaits as well in the river systems, and then when I'm going to the lakes, I love throwing top waters, frogs, fishing the lilies or swim baits, paddle tails.
Then Kenny Dow's just overall, what's your favorite artificial bait to use?
My favorite artificial bait, I'm gonna have to say the jitterbug. The 5/8 ounce black with yellow eyes jitterbug is my favorite.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Alabama Fishing says wildest topwater story.
Oh my god, that muskie that I just got. That muskie that I just got, guys. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. So some of you might know my wife and I just got here from New Hampshire. We were in Kokomo, Indiana, and spent a week out over there. And there's this creek, Wildcat Creek, over there that I've been exploring for the last week. Had some fun over there, but I was going after bass like crazy. I was told there's really big bass there. So that was the main thing I was going after, that and catfish. But one day I was fishing the waters for bass like crazy. I wasn't catching nothing. I mean, I was throwing beefies, uh, his swim baits that he had sent me, the crappie ones. I was throwing football jigs. I was throwing buzz baits. I was throwing everything at him. And I said, you know what? All right, I threw everything I have. We're gonna move down over here, and I'm gonna start over. But this time, I was like, it's a little shallower. I'm gonna start with the red whopper plopper. So I casted it, nothing. Second cast, and I just saw on top of the water. I just saw like a torpedo just coming at my bait. My heart dropped, and when it came out of the water, man, it was like the biggest splash ever. And my heart just I it sank, and then I set the hook, I didn't even have to set the hook. He took that bait, and I was fighting that 38-inch muskie on my Johnny Morris, man. It was insane.
Yeah.
My heart was pumping. He was ripping drag off of that thing, and I was nervous I was going to lose them because they're toothy creatures, and it was only 20-pound fluoro. So, but if somehow the line didn't get caught up in his teeth, and I landed him.
That's what's crazy though, is I was talking to some guys that guide up at Cave Run for muskie, and I was asking them, what kind of leaders and stuff they use, and they just said they use fluoro. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, but they'll do a 50-pound.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they'll do a 50-pound fluoro, and that's perfectly fine. It's just hard as nuts to tie knots in those suckers.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
How many pound test was it that you was
it was 20.
20? I got
So
you.
I have 15-pound braid running my main line to my Johnny Morris reel, and then I have five, about 6 foot lead line of 20 pound,
I got you.
20 pound fluoro, and it's the Seaguar that I have on there.
I got you. I got you. Have you got any questions for me, brother?
I do. Um, what is your favorite species to catch?
Crappie. Crappie.
Yeah, I heard. And then with that story that you told me about the night fishing, that took you to that, and that's your all time favorite. And how often do you go after crappie?
About every time I'm on the lake.
Yep.
If I'm out on the boat, I'm usually, it kind of depends. Like if I'm on my pontoon, I'm crappie fish, which I'm gonna transition this year a little bit more. I'm a bass fish quite a bit more this year on the boat. I'm gonna save the crappie fishing for night, but usually say if I'm going night fishing for crappie, I will usually get to the body of water about 2 hours before it gets dark, and I'll run around and I'll scan a little bit, just to see where they're stacked up,
Yep.
in structure and stuff. And usually where I go is Cave Run, or I go down to the Cumberland River where it meets the Rockcastle River, and that's where I do my crappie fishing. And I've about got both of them figured out. So where they're 9 times out of 10 where they're at, for
Yeah.
night fishing wise. But you'll probably see me transition this year to a lot more bass fishing.
Right.
I
What's
mean
your
that's
favorite crappie bait to use?
if I've got two, and it's a close tie. I'm not gonna lie, but the mini ball from BFE Baits and the chartreuse pepper, and a color that I just had casting pool, which it was their gill color is what they were calling it. And whenever Jen sent me a picture of it, I told her, I said, you know what that's missing? She's like, please don't tell me a chartreuse tail. And I said, no, not a chartreuse tail, but I've got a Helgermite color that I had them do for me, and Bloody Harlan. And I said, take that Bloody Harlan color. I said, and put that as the tail on the gill, and we'll call it injured gill.
Eh,
And I'm continuously catching crappie with BFE's mini balls. And really, I mean, any of their colors I catch with, but chartreuse pepper is my confidence color, um, from anyone in my, because there's a lot of murky water
yeah.
that I fish. But anything in chartreuse pepper, anything black and chartreuse, um, Morning Dawns has done well for me. Before I started fishing with solely, you know, small bait makers, my my favorite crappie bait was a Bobby Garland.
Yeah.
Small,
Yep.
Cajun cricket, bayou bugger, and blue ice. That's usually the main three colors that I was fishing with Bobby Garland's. But right now it's pretty much a tie between BFE's mini ball and casting pools, crappie slayers, and crushers.
What's your favorite body water to fish? Lake, creek, stream, river?
It's kind of weird. I always say, I love crappie fishing, but I think my favorite way to fish is wade fishing in the creek. You know,
Yeah.
walking the creek bank, being in the water or floating it on a kayak. There's something about that for me. There's nobody around.
Yep.
Like you go to a lake or a reservoir, you got people like today. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I was out fishing and there was kids crying, and it just, I'm just like, damn, I hate to take kids upset, but I'm really, you know what I mean? Not
Yeah,
complaining,
yeah, for sure.
but you know what I mean? Just a lot going on around you. But
Yep.
whenever you're wade fishing or kayaking a creek, it's usually, you might run into maybe two or three other people that entire day. Now, if you go up to Elkhorn Creek in Georgetown, you might run into 150 because it's heavily fished, kayaked.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
but it's smallmouth central.
Oh yep. So it's real popular.
It's
You got a
it's
lot of
for
people
central.
fishing.
I think Elkhorn Creek. I think it's 18.1 miles long from
Oh,
end
dang.
to end. And there's a float. I've not done it in 2 years. I'm fishing in a tournament, a bass fishing tournament, the last 2 weeks of this month that Bubba Bates is putting on. And I think there's 36 of us and 6 teams. But that's what I was telling my team the other day. I was like, "There's Elkhorn Creek." I said it's about a 30-minute drive for me, and it's known for pretty good smallmouth fishing, really good smallmouth fishing.
Nice.
And it'll be about an 8 to 10 hour float.
Yep.
So
Man, that's crazy. That'll be fun.
it'll wear you out, man, but it's fun.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, it definitely will wear you out for sure. Smallmouth are fun to catch too, man. I love catching me some smallmouth.
That's and I mean that's all I did growing up was smallmouth fishing. I mean, whenever I'm at casting pool, I asked him, I was like, "Y'all got a Helgermite mode?" And he's like, "What is that?" And I looked it up, Googled it, sent him a picture, and I was like, "We've never seen that." I was like, "You need to get one." I was like, "Because this is all I fish with." You know what I mean? I said,
Yep.
"This is all I
Put it
fish
on a net
with."
rig.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
tell you, man, I tell you how I like doing them. I posted a video the other day. If I think about it, I'll send it to you. But I like to run a split shot. I'll Texas rig it, but I'll put a split shot weight on it.
Yep.
And whenever you're throwing into that current just a little bit, that split shot is going to drag that bottom, and that current is going to keep that bait suspended for the most part. And that current just looks like a Evermite, is naturally floating in that
Yeah.
current. And I
What
wear them
size
out.
hook are you fishing it with?
The what?
What size hook you fishing it with?
It depends on. They've got a 2 inch and they've got a 3 inch. If it's a 3 inch, I'm using a 2-aught. If it's a 2 inch, I'm using a 1-aught.
Okay.
EWG is how I
Yep.
fish it now. I You used to be able to buy them from Bass Pro, and I rig them the same way, but I'll get like the panfish, the long shank. You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about? And I will Texas rig it with a long shank
Yep.
and fish them that way too.
Yeah. And that's a lot lighter wire hook
It
too,
is.
so it'll allow it to float better.
Yeah. No, it is. But there's a couple there. I mean, you Ned rig them. I have Ned rigged them.
I I think I'm gonna try that in the river over here. I'm gonna try that what you just said.
Yeah.
And I
No,
got tons of Helgramites. I have tons of plastics with Helgramites of all kinds of colors. Smallmouth Central over here, where I'll be fishing the Eel River and the Wabash River
yeah.
system out here, and then probably on weekends heading out to where we were before and doing that Wildcat Creek. So those are the few spots that I found so far. So we're just going to keep plugging away, see what's going on. I want to find some good catfish spots too.
Now, I'm sure
They're
you
supposed to
will.
have some big flatheads out here somewhere, so I want to chase them. I want to get some flatheads.
Flathead's good eating too.
Yeah, and I got to catch my wife some walleye too, cause so she wants to eat some walleye. So I'm looking up I was looking up some videos this morning on different setups for walleye. I was thinking of bottom bouncing rigs and different things like that, cause I'll be on the kayak. So I'm just doing standard research like normal, and gonna go out there and see what type of species we could pull out of these river systems. And if it clears up ever, or I find some spots, man, I'm really trying to get my blowgun out there and do some blowgun videos and getting some carp and gar or something with the blowgun. So
Oh yeah. Let me check some.
that'll be awesome. What's up, everybody?
I got you. I was making sure I had that come up to Lake Erie. We got the walleye. That y'all do. Y'all got a bunch of walleye up there. There's a guy in Kentucky that I painted some deep diving bandits for, and he sends me. I wish he was on social media because he wears them out. I might just ask him if I can post the pictures that he sends me sometime. I
Yeah.
never asked him that, but he's a
Yeah,
good
I did
dude.
pretty good. I did pretty good in New Hampshire. Found out they had walleye, and I just started. The weather was getting cold. The bass bite was shutting off and everything. So walleye is a good cold water species to go after. We know when the water temperatures drop. I was doing trout for a while, but I was like, man, I'm tired of trout, and I found out they had walleye, so I was like, let's go. And I just got lucky, found a spot, and started hitting them there.
Heck yeah.
But the only other state I've ever caught walleye out of, well, Iowa too. I did catch some walleye in Iowa, but Michigan, Iowa, and here in Indiana. No, have I caught a walleye here in Indiana? No, just out in New Hampshire. So I'm trying to get one out here. So we'll see what happens.
What Brian down there, he said, I can research for hours and still not catch fish. I'm starting to wonder if I can read. We'll blame it on that, Brian.
Right, exactly. I love that. Man, I love getting my In Fisherman magazines. You know, I like getting all those local publications and stuff like that too. And I just love digging into all that stuff. I don't remember half of it, but it's fun reading it.
That's part of it. That is part of it. I get it's the Bass Pro Shops. I have their newsletter or whatever sent to the place I work, and every time it comes in, I'll be sitting out there and I'll be looking through it and everything, and they're like, "What are you looking at?" I was like, "I think I'm gonna go buy a boat this weekend." They're like, "What? You already got one?" I'm joking. I was like, because I mean, you open it up and that's about what the first 20 pages is
exactly
and electronics and everything.
Yep. Yeah, you got to flip through the first 10 pages just to get to your first article nowadays.
That is how it goes. That is how it goes for sure. But have you got anything else for me, man?
No, sir. Just appreciate you inviting me and having me on your show. I appreciate it. Love you doing good stuff, and keep watching out and see what you get hooked into this spring and summer.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you taking the time to come out in here with me. And, which some may not know, but Morales, he is a promotional staff member for my business. But I also want you to shout out anyone else that you're pro staffing for as well. That way we can get them here.
I'm not pro staffing. You're the only guy I'm pro staffing for right now, but I do have friends in the fishing community that are all helping out. Right now we're doing a giveaway from Batty Bates. She sent some packages. I mean, you sent some stuff that we did last month, so this month we got J Bros Lures is sponsoring the month of May, so we're going to be out there going after some fish, talking about J Bros Lures and a bunch of his different baits, and it's just going to continue on from there. We got 706 Baits as well, who's contributed to it, and many others. So Glowline Laser Creations, he's another friend of mine that's starting a business. He does custom laser creations, so if you guys want to check him out, yeah. But everybody that's here right now, follow each other, that's keep the love real, and share your secrets with each other and spread love, man.
That's what it's about, brother. And I thank you.
Yeah.
Silver Fox and everybody that come in tonight. Some's come and gone, and that's usually how it is. But if it wasn't for the folks, here on TikTok, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing, and the other channels that we're on. I don't do it for me. I do it for me to entertain myself and to make myself laugh, and then I share it, hoping that it puts a smile on someone else's face, mainly.
Yeah, I like your videos. They're funny, dude. I like watching them.
Appreciate it. If I think of it and it makes me laugh, then I go through with it. I have a lot in my drafts that I want to post, but I'm afraid to. I really there's some that I'm like, it's not like vulgar, but
right.
It's like,
questionable.
Everybody doesn't have that same sense of humor. You know what I mean?
Right.
That we all don't share it. So
yeah.
But it's like Stone Ridge flies. I was debating on posting the wrestling meme the other day. It was Stone Cold throwing Spike Dudley out of the ring through a table, and I was like, random person, how do you release a trout? And he commented and was like, "Hey, bro, respect the fish." And I was like, "Damn it." I was like, I hope he's really not mad. It's just a joke, And I
Right.
was like, I said, it's 100% joke. And he was like, oh, I know. I was like, good deal. I was like, I tried to piss anybody off.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. You got to be sensitive sometimes, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the thing, man. In New Hampshire, they don't use trucks to put trout in the lakes out there. They drop them by plane. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you want to talk about somebody throwing a fish in the water, watch them planes drop them
Oh,
trout
yeah.
from the sky.
Yeah. From about 1,200 foot.
Yeah. So that happens all over in New Hampshire, and that's the only way they can do it because there's not trails or roadways to a lot of these places, and people still hike to them and fish them, and so they stock them.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's, it, it blows my mind, the resources that goes in that, places like that, who would have ever thought, well, let's load 10,000 trout up in a plane and, fly up here and drop them out so these guys can continue feeding. Like I'd like to meet the person that was sitting at that table and was like, well, let's put them in a plane. Put them in a damn plane. Let's ship them up there that way. I mean, I'd like to think, it was a fat guy in a pair of overalls,
Right.
with a big chew hands. Like, well, dang, just put them in a helicopter.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just hoping that I'd be able to see it firsthand while I was out there, but I didn't get no opportunity. But
Yeah, there's always the next time.
yeah, for sure. And New Hampshire's some beautiful countryside, man. Especially the Lebanon area, right along the Connecticut River, man. I had so much fun out in that area. I can't wait to go back, but we're trying our best to get to Oregon. So that's our Hawaii and Oregon are our big bucket list next adventures.
Oh yeah. Sir Brian says in some areas I've seen them carry trout in buckets to stock trout and some rugged art. I got you.
That would suck, right? Going back and let's do the fireman line. Let's do that instead of going
Yeah.
back and forth with 2 buckets each.
That's how they do it in Kentucky. They got a truck, buddy, and got a big, pretty much a fire, kind of like what you're saying. Hello,
Yeah.
Miss Sarah. How are you doing? And right here's those special items. We didn't close the tackle grab out tonight, but these are the 2 lures that's available in it. We've got 8 spots left, which I'll continue running that as I go live. But these are the 2 lures that Sarah sent me that's got hooks tied on it, or that Robbie tied hooks on. So whoever ends up getting that tackle grab will get to pick between the popper or the mini plopper. But if y'all need anything, let me know.
You have a great one, man. Have a good night.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yep, bye.